Hello everyone, we're back with another video on the channel. I kindly ask those who haven't subscribed yet to please do so. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to leave a like, turn on notifications, and feel free to leave a comment. Today's discussion is about the culture of female vacuuming. Why do women engage in vacuuming on platforms like Instagram Direct, WhatsApp, and other social media chats? However, it's mainly happening on WhatsApp and Instagram these days. The phenomenon of the vacuum is something that has emerged quite recently within the last 3 or 4 years. People tend to romanticize this behavior, and you'll notice numerous memes circulating that highlight individuals who proudly claim they take a long time to reply to others. They do this as if to suggest they are incredibly busy and important individuals. Brazilians, and it's not only women, some men engage in this behavior too actually, quite a few men do it. They absolutely love to keep themselves busy, constantly running around as if they were the CEOs of huge companies like Google, Apple, or Boeing. You'll often see these individuals on their cell phones throughout the entire day. A Brazilian woman, when she's in a rush, typically goes to a lottery shop to pay a bill. She often mentions that she's in a hurry, correct? So, those of you who have more experience understand that you can't just pretend to be excited, right? But why do women tend to create a sort of void for themselves? The reason I'm making this video is to discuss the topic of stimuli and rewards in our environment, which is the main focus of my channel, right? This isn't a channel for making moral judgments. Women aren't required to respond to men whenever they want, right? She has the freedom to do whatever she chooses, right? However, we highlight the errant behavior, the inconsistencies, and the consequences that follow, right? If they simply gave up and didn't want to change this behavior, making a video about it would be pointless, right? So it's exactly because as they age, they tend to stop doing these amusing things that we're engaging in this behavior here to caution not just the men who fall victim to these women with errant actions, but also the women themselves who come to listen to this, especially the younger ones. This is important for everyone involved to be extremely careful with certain types of behavior, like belittling some guys, right? Because the consequences can indeed be very violent, not due to social reasons or anthropological reasons, but due to biological ones, okay? Because your mindset of, I'm speaking directly to the woman here now, your thought process of detachment, of thinking I don't need anyone, I am completely on my own. At 20 or 25, you're at your peak. After 30 is loneliness and neediness, right? This is recent behavior. On MSN, people didn't vacuum, they just didn't reply if away from the computer, right? Some went offline to talk to someone, avoiding others. There are times when you just want, it's personal space, you prefer not to be interrupted, and that's perfectly acceptable. This channel is not intended for scrutinizing minor human behaviors or small hypocrisies. Alright, what we do here is highlight significant inconsistencies and major hypocrisies that have serious repercussions. Every person exhibits some level of hypocrisy and responds to certain stimuli and rewards without considering the consequences, but our focus is on identifying the most critical ones, those that truly disrupt the entire dynamic of relationships. I don't think that's true for men, women, relationships, or society. So, at the time of MSN, and even in the early days of WhatsApp, you didn't really have this issue of giving others a vacuum. From the moment women start to enter this virtual solipsism would be you closing off a virtual world, especially Instagram, and thinking that because you have 15,000 followers, 20,000 followers, 500 likes on the photo of your ass, right, that you're a super celebrity, that you're a Hollywood star, that you're Isis Valverde, right? When you examine the girl's life more closely, you often find that she is unemployed frequently, relying financially on her father, and working in average job. Now, it's important to clarify that I'm not demeaning her situation in social terms, right? I'm specifically referring to her income level. But the key point here is that it's truly about aligning what her actual value is in the relationship market, or the sexual market, with what it genuinely is in reality. And it's evident that there is a significant shift in reality. What a woman thinks she is in the virtual world and what she really is in the real world. Not just her physical appearance, which in the virtual world is full of makeup, filters. Wow, look, I congratulate these programmers, these people who know how to make filters for women, because I know every woman who on Instagram is a goddess and in person she's half-assed, and I say, my God in heaven, man, that filter there, because in the past it took a lot of effort to make mistakes in Photoshop. Those of you who have been around the internet for a while will recall CorelDRAW and Photoshop from back then. It was such a labor-intensive task, my friends, that it was difficult for errors to go unnoticed. Nowadays, filters work like magic, don't they? It's just a matter of seconds. So the issue with the vacuum, right? The major criticism isn't about the vacuum itself. As I mentioned, a woman isn't required to respond at the pace a man desires. Do you understand? Nobody here is acting as the sheriff's police, okay? We're not here to dictate what a woman should do. Instead, we're highlighting the inconsistencies to demonstrate the consequences. The major issue with Vaco is his double standard. I'll be creating several videos in this series to highlight the behaviors associated with this double game, this double standard that women face. So what exactly is a double standard? The double standard can be summarized briefly as follows. When it comes to average men or men of lower value, or even those who are slightly above average but whom she perceives as not being good enough for her, she will act in this manner. And when it comes to those super alphas, those incredibly high-profile individuals, whether they are famous, wealthy, heirs, or hold some other prestigious status, women might have some level of access to them, even if it's just for brief and casual encounters. This could also include a man who simply likes her photo or glances at her in the gym, even if he has no real connection to her. The female sense of playfulness and validation is easily nourished in these scenarios. It doesn't take much, just a simple like on a photo is enough. When a very high-profile man likes a woman's photo, she often immediately internalizes this, placing it in her mind as a significant form of validation. The idea that she might have something going on with the guy and that the woman romanticizes with him is different from us men. We see a woman dancing on TikTok, usually sent via WhatsApp, since not many guys have TikTok, at least from what I gather from my channel's comments. They don't use it much, but they do receive this content. Or the guy who looks at a lot of beautiful women on Instagram, he understands that male playfulness is often much more fleeting than just quick sex. He imagines a relationship there. He has his sexual libido center is activated there. He'll have an immediate desire for copulation, right, quickly. But he doesn't romanticize this woman. He doesn't imagine romance walking hand in hand or anything like that. So it's not the woman who's very quick. The woman, when a very prominent guy, very desired by others, a hustler, an heir comes after her, she really romanticizes with this guy like a Disney princess. So regardless of how feminist society may be, the playfulness of women is something that is very hard to change. Now, with these guys, it's a different kind of behavior, okay? So if the woman you're interested in takes a long time to get back to you, it's like antibiotics, right? She replies every 12 hours or something like that, and I don't know what else. You know that with other guys, especially a small number of guys in the top 1 or 2%, that woman acts like a jararaca. What's a jararaca? It's like that person you talk to on WhatsApp. My dad's like that. Those big zap guys, the famous big zap guy. He's online all day, right? On his cell phone, you send him a message and he replies, right? That guy who sees it and replies straight away. The older guys are usually like that. They don't play these games. So they reply, right? It's the famous bot de Araraka. You send it, he sees it and replies. So these women who are with these guys at the top, they are like that, all right? They're even more engaged in conversations, With these guys, they end up chatting more than usual, right? And they spend their whole day checking to see if the guy is online, looking to see if there's any recent activity, you know what I mean? Although many guys hide this information, I do it too, just to avoid any gossip or rumors from starting, you understand? I recommend that everyone does this too, even if sometimes you don't talk to women that much. It's more about preserving privacy. So this vacuum culture, its big problem is not in the behavior itself, but in the double standard of behavior. That's the big X of the matter. And what are the consequences? You can talk, but if the woman wants to respond quickly, and doesn't respond quickly, fine. Continue in that key. Here on our channel, we stand for freedom and the idea that you can do whatever you want as long as you take responsibility for your actions afterward. This is where the next part of the video will focus, discussing precisely the responsibilities that come with such behavior. A woman will often engage in these kinds of games with guys she considers average or not quite good enough. She will rarely cut a guy off unless he behaves rudely towards her. For example, if he engages in sexual harassment or similar actions. In those cases, she might even go as far as blocking him. But the guy who's having a good conversation, trying to make something happen and hasn't quit yet, she'll keep stringing him along, giving him little attention. Why? Because she knows if things go wrong with Alpha, with the bad boy, she's got a backup waiting, right? But two things are happening, right? First, these guys are waking up, right? They're becoming more aware, right? And secondly, the woman usually only turns to this guy when she's over 30. So now the criticism or the vacuum starts. The vacuum has an expiration date. If a woman was beautiful, young, fertile, and appeared to be 22 or 25 forever, when you get a vacuum, you'll keep it forever, unless you become a super alpha and really stand out. So, no, she was never going to change that. She would never pause to think, wow, I'm wasting my time with this jerk while there's a nice guy over there paying attention to me. Women experience this change in circumstances primarily when they reach their 30s, okay? That's the issue at hand. So today, it feels like there's a void around you, and then when she hits 30, it's as if, hello, you're not there anymore. Hello, how are you doing? How much time has passed, right? That completely alters their behavior. In the video I made titled Don't Be the Consolation Prize, I stress never accepting that role. Here we specifically focus on her behavior towards potential consolation prize targets, because since she didn't win the main prize, she decides to go for the consolation prize. Just like I mentioned in a previous video I made a few weeks ago. So you shouldn't accept this kind of behavior. A lot of what we consider common sense is actually a lie. People say that women like guys who conquer and all that, and that they enjoy being treated well, but everyone already knows that's not true. They actually prefer guys who are cold and indifferent. They only like good guys after being hurt by others and losing his charm. Then they pursue the good guys. However, if there is any common sense to be found, there are indeed a few barroom sayings that hold truth. When a woman truly desires you, when she genuinely wants to give, no one can stop her from doing so. Therefore, if she isn't offering you any encouragement, if the effort you're putting in isn't being matched, if it's not that mutual interaction where both of you engage in conversation, both of you respond relatively quickly, and no one is playing games, then it's time to move on, man. You're not really losing anything. Men need to understand this, man. You're not losing anything at all. It's just unfortunate, but plenty of women out there these days. Even when their beauty is enhanced by makeup, filters, and similar things, our brains remain quite primitive, associating this with youthful beauty. They do not recognize or identify that. I don't blame anyone for this, as there are unnatural tricks and resources behind it, right? Even so, we find these women to be incredibly beautiful, and you become anesthetized by their beauty and everything else. Man, just get out, you know. If you can't control your sexual urges, then go for a call boy, either as a last resort or even as a first option. I don't condemn anyone who chooses to do that. You shouldn't settle for just anyone or compromise your standards or try to impose morals on a woman you know you can have a casual relationship with. If you're someone who can manage your desires, transform them, and so forth, like Gilherme Viking, whose channel I really admire, then that's even better. You already have the roadmap, so don't waste time, you know? So don't waste your time on a woman who ignores you, right? But if she stops ignoring you and starts pursuing you, then you should assess the situation. I don't like giving fixed rules, you know. It's important to evaluate the context. Some things are up for negotiation, you know. You shouldn't give women the moral upper hand. Or she kept ignoring you and even made it clear she was with another guy, then you're out for good. I usually don't like to give love advice, but it's always important to analyze the situation carefully, okay? If the situation seems right for you, it's convenient and everything seems fine, and she has returned with grace, then don't let pride get in the way, go out with her. Understand? However, if you see that it's not going to be a problem, then leave. But if you sense it's going to become an issue, or if you know you're someone who gets attached easily and is a bit needy, then it's best not to go out, you know? So, yeah. But it's always good to know the theory behind the vacuum, right? Because it's not like that with everyone. That's where the big problem lies, right? And the problem isn't that she's not like that with... She can be like that with whoever she wants. The point is that she changes her behavior later, and then you're the target to be deceived later. You know, so the vacuum, it's a big farce in the end. It's a ridiculous behavior that women, in the end, they're always going to end up getting screwed over. The guys they don't give a vacuum to, the ones they would choose to date, who they idealize and see as super alphas, are interested in being with them, right? Once these guys lose interest, even in casual sex, especially when they're over 30, maybe at 35, they'll turn back to the nice guys. At that point, she's likely to be difficult with you. You know what I mean? She's going to say the wrong thing to you because she's needy, understand? But you don't deserve to get it. The woman who wasted the best years of her youth with guys who wanted nothing to do with her doesn't have to be your princess afterwards. Got it? So that's the message, okay? Watch Vaco's behavior very carefully, because not only is he fraudulent to the core, okay? He's a double act, which depends a lot on the person he's with. Who is talking to a woman, he changes afterwards, okay? So the problem isn't the behavior itself, it's his contradiction and how it messes up society. But men are waking up, right? Men are waking up, and in these 20 years, the deal is going to be done, okay? Big hugs to everyone.